show that? Or backwards? Okay. Hi all. 7 o'clock. I'm trying to pull you up here, but you're not coming up. Welcome. Happy August. It is, I don't know, 10th, 12th, something. Happy August. Welcome. Tonight, I'm going to do a couple of things. We're going to work in metallics, and we're going to do some lettering, and I'm going to show you how to faux finish a background, which I've done on a bunch of my walls. So you can also do it with commercial paint, like the paint you buy at Home Depot in the gallons. So you can do that. Hi, Nanette. I am not coming up on my iPad for some bizarre reason. So just bear with me. Let me try check in. We'll check in. What's a big deal? Oh, I don't want to. All right. So we're going to, I'm not getting the feet up. I mean, you guys know after 6 months, I just can't get it together. I am so not a tech person. I keep trying to tell everybody that. So, if I don't answer your comments, it's simply because I can't see them. I don't know why I'm not seeing them, but I will answer them after, I promise. If it happens to pop up while I'm going, I will answer them as I'm going. So welcome everybody. I'm going to turn you around. Let's see. Let's get rid of that. I'm going to turn you around so that I think I figured out how to get you the right way. Okay. I think that we're in. Yes? I can't get it up. All right. So let's hope I'm live. I'm on camera. Okay. Ah, there we go. Okay. So let's go live. Okay. Oh, look, I did it. Okay. So this is a regular piece that I bought at the dollar store. And I painted it already, but it is just, and it's hard. It's like I think it's an MDF. So you can paint on this. So whenever you buy it, whatever you buy at the dollar store, sand it. Just sand it. Here, this is one that I bought. This is the piece that I bought at the dollar store. At Dollar Tree, and I just sanded it. I took the little shine off here. I sanded down the glitter, okay, and then it's good to paint. So anything you buy, you can paint like that, okay. Let's see. Oh, good. Okay, so I think I got your comments up. Okay, ready, set, go. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to do the background. And at the end of class, I'll show you next week's class, and I'll show you next month's beginner class. I used chalky gesso. And I used chalky gesso because it covers like unbelievably. It is just the most fabulous thing. You can use any paint to do this. Okay, it comes in. This is a small jar. They come in bigger jars. One coat. This is one coat. So I went from the piece I just showed you with all the black. If I can find anything. I went from this to this in one coat. Okay? Real easy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what's called a slip slap background. So I'm going to take a little bit of the chalky gesso. And if you're not using chalky gesso, you can just use regular acrylic paint. When I put it out, I said use any color. I meant use any color. Whatever makes you happy. Okay? This is one of those pieces. And if you don't want to do it on a door hanger, you can do it on any surface. It's the same exact prep. Sand it, base coat it, and then we'll slip slap it. Okay? So I don't have a lot of paint. I have the bluish green. It's a bluish green and white. I'm going to take my damp brush, and I'm using a big brush, okay? If you look, my brush is not in great condition, but for this, it doesn't matter. So you can take any old brush you have, and you're going to work fast, and you're going to come in. I'm going to put this here so you can see. You're going to pick up some of the darker color, whatever darker color you're using. I'm going to just put some on. If you look, that's too wet. I'm going in X's, okay? And then I'm going to pick up white. Same brush, I didn't clean it, and look. I'm just X's. I'm not taking it out. I'm not blending it. I want that. You see that? I want those colors. I want the different values of color. And I want to see the variation. Now, you can have it lighter, you can have it darker. If you want it lighter, add more white. If you want it darker, add more of, in this case I'm using green. So just use the green. And I have, if you can see that up close, you see how that gives me a nice faux finish? And again, like I said, you can do this on walls. It's really beautiful. It looks like wallpaper. It looks like somebody came in and did a big thing on your walls, when in reality, you're just Xing all over. Okay? Let me turn this light on, see if I can get rid of that shadow for you. Okay. Okay. So, I'm going to quickly dry this. Now this background, and again, I use this fan. This fan is from Brookstone. It's a Brookstone fan. I use this fan because it's very, very quiet. This is on the highest temperature, which is really good. And I can still use it. You can use a blow dryer. You can use a fan from anywhere. It doesn't matter. Just, you can use anything. I just use this because of the sound of it. And when you're in class, you want quiet. Now, I didn't show you, but I'll show you in a minute. When you look at your piece, if you look at it on an angle, and it's got, you probably can't see it here. If it's got a little shine, that means it's wet. The paint is still wet. And we just dry it so that there's no shine. So if I'm looking at it on an angle like this, I have no shine. See that? That means it's dry and it's workable. Okay? So, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer my pattern. Now when I transfer my pattern, I trace my pattern onto tracing paper so that it's easier to line up. Now you're going to use your pattern, and if you do it on regular white paper, you can just cut it right out so that it's fine. You can trace it. You can do it any way you want. I'm going to use graphite paper. Thank you, Karen. So there's a shiny side and there's a flat side. The flat side is what you want up. Now, the common mistake that's made all the time is that people will put their graphite down and then they'll go like this and try to line it up. very, very difficult to do. It'll never go where it's supposed to go. So, you put this down first. A lot of people will tape it. I don't tape it. I just kind of slide under. And if you tape it, don't untape it, then you can just flip it up and it'll always be there until you're done with your piece. Because we're going to have to go back in and we're going to put details in. So I'm going to trace just the outside lines. Now, I'm using a stylus. A stylus has a metal end. It's got little balls. It makes dots. What transfers your pattern is the pressure. So you can use a pencil. You can use a pencil with no point. You can use, I should move a little. You can use a pen. You can use anything you want. It's the pressure that you're looking for. So you see how I'm just tracing, and I only traced, so okay, I'll go back in a minute, but I'm going to hold it here and I'm going to lift like that. And what that's going to do is that's going to show me my pattern is there. Okay? So then I can take this up and I know it's there. Now if I missed a spot, and all I'm looking for is outlines at this point. I don't even care that this isn't here. But at this point, all I'm looking for is the outline, because we're going to paint over it. If I missed a spot, so just say I forgot the bottom, because I'm on tracing paper, I'll go back in, I'll line up my wings. Maybe I should turn this. I'll turn this. I'll make it easier for you. I'll line up my wings, and then I can just trace what I missed. I take my transfer paper and put it back under. It works the same as carbon paper. Don't use carbon paper. Carbon paper, the minute you hold it, you are going to have spots all over of dark. Now, you don't want that. Number one, you don't want that because it's not erasable and it's a mess. So what you always want is you want graphite paper. You can, I don't know why I'm losing my thought tonight. With the graphite paper, you can always erase it. So as long as there's not paint on top of it, you can erase it. So don't worry. All right, so now we're going to take a brush. I think I put a 10 flat in there, but any brush will do. All right, so I'm going to wet, and what I'm going to do, it's called a wash. So I'm going to wash my oval because I want to give it a different look from here. So I'm just going to wash it white. I don't want it to be solid because I don't want it to be too in your face. Okay, so we're going to wet. Okay, so I'm going into the water. Straight from the water, I'm going to my paint puddle and I'm pulling. It's very inky. Can you see that? Very inky. Now when I wash, I always blot quickly and then I'll come in and I'll just wash. And you'll see what you'll get is a transparent coat of color. And that's what we're looking for. You can control the intensity with how much water you put in. So if you want it to be darker, just make it darker. Less water. I want this to be very simple. I don't want to have a lot of color. And as soon as we paint the butterfly, you'll see the difference. Okay, so I'm here. And again, you don't need a new brush for this. There's a lot of times the brush makes a difference. This is not one. I use Dynasty black silver brushes for this stuff, or Series 361. They are inexpensive brushes and they're literal workhorses. They will do anything. So it's a really good thing, you know. Nanette, the way you avoid streaks is to use a bigger brush. The bigger the brush, the less the streaks. The way around, if you're using a smaller brush, take your mop and just very lightly, while you're wet, just go like that, and that'll pull your streaks right out. Okay? If you used a 3/4 in here, if you feel comfortable with a 3/4 in there, you won't have any streaks. The reason people usually get streaks is because they have too much water when they go in. So when I wash, I go from the water to the paint. From the paint, I blot on a paper towel, and then I go to my surface. A lot of people don't go to the paper towel. I find that it stops the streaks. You know, it makes it much easier for me. Okay, so now, again, I'm going to switch brushes. I'm going to take, this might be too small. I'm going to base coat. Now, my butterfly is going to be white. It's going to start white so that we can get a really good metallic coverage. Use the biggest brush you have for the area you're in. Now, our goal is not to be opaque on the first coat, ever. No matter what you're painting, no matter who you're painting with, no matter what you're doing, if you come in and you do this, so that'll give you more color than I have. But all those lumps, they will dry like that, and they are there forever, which is not a good thing. Okay, so you see how I'm pulling? So I have a thin coat. It usually depends on your color. It will usually take you 2 coats, but sometimes it'll take more. Sometimes it'll take less. Like the chalky gesso will take 1 coat. When you use black, as long as your brush has very little water in it, it will coat in 1 coat. So it just depends on the color. Yellows, you usually have to have a neutralizing color underneath. So I know this is going to sound really strange and people think I'm crazy when I say it, but when I undercoat, it's called undercoating, to put the color under, I use the complementary color, which means the color opposite on the color wheel. So in the case of yellow, it's purple. So I undercoat anything that's yellow in purple. Not a dark purple, but a light purple. So when you put your yellow on, it won't change the color. Okay, so that's a big thing. Let me just see if, okay. All right, so I'm here. We have a slow night tonight. I'll give you a sneak peek of what's next, too. Won't that be fun? And we have another one Thursday. This is an insect month. The butterfly, and then next week we have dragonfly. It's the end of summer. It's the end of summer. Spring will, fall will be here. I don't know, my world spring will be here. Okay. So you see the difference? This is 1 coat, and this is 2 coats. Now, I'm not too concerned about it being totally opaque because my butterfly is not white. In the end, he's pink and purple. So it's not an issue that he's not. Now again, you see, can you see that shine? I don't know if you can see it. You see that shine? When I hold it on an angle, there's a whole shine here. That shine means the paint is wet. If the paint is wet and you put another coat on, what happens is you're gonna, what we call, dig a hole. So you're gonna try to put paint on and you're gonna pull the paint underneath off And you're going to have this nice little hole that's going to be really hard to cover, since you just made yourself a hot spot. So don't do that. Dry it with a dryer fan. Let it air dry if you're not in a rush. Sometimes I'll work here, then I'll go here, then I'll go here, and then I'll go to another spot. And if all else fails, you can paint your body. So there's always something to do. Now that's enough for me, because in the end, you will see he's pink and purple. He's not. There's not a lot of white. And we're going to bring some white in so that it's nice and bright. But the white will give me the true color in the metallics. Okay. Welcome, everybody. I can sometimes see who's on and I can sometimes not. So I'm just going to say welcome, everybody. And I'm so glad you're all here. And I'm so glad you're all joining me. And when this video is done, just so you all know, it'll be on the library website. If you go on their main page and go under, in the beginning it'll be under the live tab, and after that it'll be under the videos tab, and just scroll down to painting. All my past classes are there, all my current classes are there. So you can paint it whenever you want. And if you have questions, message me. I'm happy to help you. Leave a comment on this video. I usually get a notification. Very worst case, if I don't answer you pretty quickly, because I'm usually pretty good. If I don't answer you pretty quickly, then I haven't seen it. And if I haven't seen it, just contact the library and anybody there will get in touch with me. And I will gladly answer your questions. Okay? So now we're going to float. So this blue here, this is what we call a float, and I'm going to go through floating with you. But what this does is dark will push the item down, light will pull it up. So when I push this down, so you can see in the finished piece, it looks lower. When you see it here, it's not. It's the same height. So here now I look like my butterfly is above the oval. Okay? So we're going to float here and create our depth. Okay? Floating takes practice. Be patient with yourself. Practice, practice, practice. Practice on coloring paper. It is wonderful that you're here. It's making my whole day. Okay, so I'm going to use Moody Blue. Okay. We have Miss Karen visiting from Australia, who is another painting teacher who I adore. Okay. So, floating is 4 steps. I always use a flat brush. I personally use a chisel blender because it's shorter bristles. The shorter the bristles, the easier it is to control. You can use another flat brush with longer bristles. You see the difference? This is okay. This is better. It's easier to control. So floating is 4 steps. Wet, blot, load, blend. Now always say those words to yourself. Really, really important. Wet, blot, load, blend. If you keep saying those things, you will not forget a step. Okay? So, floating will make all the difference. The more you practice, the happier I'll be. The better you'll do. Okay, so I wet my brush. Clean water. There's a shine on my bristles. So that's number 1 is wet. I blot. I take my paper towel. I'm blotting perfectly flat. This is the handle. This is the ferrule of the brush. These are the bristles of the brush. The very end of the brush is called your chisel edge. So you're going to watch the shine dissipate from your chisel edge to your ferrule. and you're going to lift it right away as soon as it hits. So you're here and then you're there. I tell you this because it's really important. This brush, okay, so watch. That took about 1, 2, 3. Now if I use this brush, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one took 5 to go from here to here. So every single brush is different. That will give you the perfect amount of water in your brush no matter what brush you're using. So wet, blot, watch the shine, corner load. When you corner load, hold the brush as perpendicular to the paint petal as you can. As opposed to this, try this. Okay, so I just have a little bit on my corner. Okay, then I'm going to blend. When I blend, I'm blending in I'm putting pressure on my brush. I'm blending in very short strokes and I'm walking away. So what I'm looking for is a graduation of color. So if I go here, you see that graduation? So I went from this to this. So I wet, I blot, I corner load, and I blend. If you do this, okay, so you can see where it starts to skip, there's too much water out of your brush. If you do this and it bleeds over, there's too much water in your brush. Okay, so that's a good way to kind of gauge what you're doing. So we wet, we blot, we corner load, and we blend. Pressure, see my bristles? Pressure, little strokes. Now I can see I have paint on both sides, which will give you paint on both sides of your piece. Little strokes, just until I have a graduation of color, then I lift, then I float. Now when I float, I put pressure on my brush. I'm flat. See how I'm flat? All my bristles are on all my surface all the time. That's my second little phrase that I always use. And you see what I'm doing? I don't really go back and forth. Okay. When I need to reload, I do. When I reload, I start back from here and I continue. Okay. Now you can see this graphite here. That's erasable, so don't worry about that in the end. After you're done, you can erase it with a regular eraser. Okay, so I'm here and I'm here. Now if your float gets too heavy, you can take a mop that looks like this, straight up and down. You're not pulling, you're just softening. Think of tap, tap, tap. And you see how I just pushed that whole oval down from my butterfly? Now it appears that it's down. Okay? So that's what we have so far. Now I'm going to play with my butterfly. Now this butterfly happens to be so much fun. She, I don't know, I guess he's a he. He's playful. He's fun. We're going to take some, I used Amethyst. Now remember, when the library puts this up, they put all the colors. Always know that you can use different colors. You can use different colors. You can use different surfaces. If you want a green butterfly, just pick some greens. You know, you don't have to do the colors I do. Okay, so I use Extreme Sheens. I love Extreme Sheens. They cover pretty much in one coat, and they're nice and shimmery. So the pink, the purple, and the gold are all Extreme Sheens. See that? They have that nice sheen to it. Okay, so I want to make him a little purple. I'm going to squeeze out a little bit of paint. Now you can see I put out that much paint. I used almost no paint when I floated. So you can just do little bits. This, I don't think I'll use all that either. But hey, it is what it is. All right, so I'm using a filbert. I'm using a filbert because my wings have this shape to it. Same shape as the filbert. Filberts have a rounded edge. Now I will tell you, this series, the Dynasty Black Silver series, the brushes, oh, don't quote me because I don't remember. I think they're $349, $359 each, the entire series. So no matter which brush you get, no matter which size you get, they're all the same price. Okay? So, which is a wonderful thing, and they work really well. So it's a good workable brush at a really reasonable price. Okay, so I'm going to pick up, and I'm just picking up my paint. And I want to get the purple on. I'm kind of swiping. So I'm swiping with, well, I'll have to go this way. I'm swiping with the contour of the wing. Sorry, I just couldn't find the word. And I'm not too concerned I'm not right at the edge. And I'm not concerned at all about the body because we haven't painted it yet. Okay. That's a little watery, so I think that I didn't shake it enough. Yeah, see, that's a little better. Right. And again, you don't use a lot of paint. I know I'm upside down because I'm holding it upside down. Just be patient. I'll turn it in 1 minute. And I'm just getting that purple over the white. Now, the way to stop brush strokes in the middle is to make sure you're pulling all the way from the outside all the way in. And you will not have these little brush strokes here. Pull all the way. Okay. I had one ready to go up to this point. So now we'll have 2. Okay, so I'm just coming in. And I'm pulling in the contour of the wings. And I'm swiping in. Now, this is our beginner class. So if you have any questions at all, scream, holler. Seriously, just comment and I will answer you. I'm trying to check the comments here and there. But when I don't, I'll answer afterwards so you can always go back and read them again. Okay? I want everybody picking up brushes. And this dries pretty quickly. Okay? Just so, here's a FYI moment. Clean your brushes between colors, or if you're going for a long time so it doesn't dry, do not leave your brushes sitting in water. You leave your brushes sitting in water, the water will get up, loosen the glue, the brush will be no good. Your brushes will last you an extremely long time if you take care of them. And while I'm on brushes, sorry, I had to drink some water. When you're cleaning brushes, pick your soap. I use Murphy's oil soap. I put it in the palm of my hand. I take my brush flat and I just wiggle just a little bit like that. You'll see the paint coming up. Pull. If you need more, just keep doing this. I'm flat. Pull. Once it's clear, pull. Really pull so you have all the water out. Dry flat. I put them on the side of my sink. In the morning, after the fact, you can put them straight up. See how they're in a bucket straight up? You can put them straight up, but until they're dry, leave them flat. You take care of your brushes, you'll be set for a very, very long time. Okay, so I covered my wings just so that I have a purple. Okay, let me just give it a quick shot. I don't feel like I'm so quiet. When you're all in front of me, I'm not quiet, am I? I'm quiet tonight. Okay. Okay, deep breath. Okay, so now we're going to take Paynes Gray, which is regular Americana color. Paynes Gray, which I love, it's really a very, very deep blue. Okay. So we're going to take a little bit of Paynes Gray. Now here's the purple that I used. This was the original puddle. You see how little I used? I only use a little tiny bit. I tend to put out more because that's me. But you use very, very little. Okay, so now we're going to use Mezza Luna brush. A Mezza Luna brush is a dry brush. It's made of natural and synthetic hair. What I love about this brush, besides the fact it'll do exactly what I want, it's washable in between colors. So I can rinse it and I can pinch it dry, which dry brushes you generally can't do. You have to have a whole, I was going to say a slew of them, but you have to have one for every color you're using. This one you don't have to. So that's one of the really good points of it. Make sure your paper towel is dry. We're going to pick up some Paynes Gray. Okay. And I'm going to pinch. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to pinch. So I've pulled off most of the paint, but I still have paint on there. Okay. So load, pinch. Now I want a dry brush here. See this area? Now again, we're going to follow the contour of the wing. This brush I'm going to use straight up and down. It's going to create lines on my surface, which is what I want. I'm coming from the outside and I'm dry brushing in. Okay? Can you see that? Now, if you can see, it's not, there's not a lot. There's not a lot there. So we want to, let me just see if this works. Let me just get those wing separations in. If you need the wing separations in, it will make it easier to know where to stop dry brushing each wing. It's not a lot. I'm going to load, I'm going to pinch, and I'm going to come do down here. Now, keep in mind that, and I'm straight up, and I'm putting pressure, so look at how my bristles are. But I'm not this, because I don't want to have a clump of paint. I want these lines. I want them. When you dry brush with this brush, when you dry brush with a sable, when you dry brush with a, no matter what you're dry brushing with, you're looking for a certain look. So you don't want to be heavy. You want to build up your color. Sometimes it takes 3, 4, 5 times. Now see, that's all I have so far. If you look here, there's far more. So I'm just going to go back in and I'm going to do it again. Load, pinch. I'll come in and you see the difference in the color now. And this is just second coat. And I'm following the contour of the wings. This is a great little brush. It does a lot of things. My brush is flat, so I'm using all the bristles. They're all on the surface. I've got some pressure. Now you want to see the purple, so I'm not taking all the purple away. So you see how I can see the purple through it? I want to see that. You want to see the purple. Whoops. There we go. We'll just pull that out. If you get a clump like that and it dries, just go back in with your base coat color, which in this case was the Amethyst, and dry brush right over it, same exact way. And what that'll do is it'll break that up. Okay, so anytime you have to dry brush, if you've gotten too heavy, just dry brush right over it with the base coat color. Okay, and I like that coloring. Now I went just about maybe a little more than 3/4. Okay, so now I washed my brush, and I'm just gonna, same thing, I'm gonna pinch it dry. See that? I'm just gonna pinch it dry. Okay, so now my brush is dry and it's usable again, which I love. That's why we use these. It's a fabulous brush. Okay, so now, because I want pink, now think pink going over the blue is going to make purple. So we have to kind of break that up. So I'm going to pick up white, same way. I'm going to load and I'm going to pinch. So there's very little on the brush. Now we're going to go the opposite way. From the wing, from the body out, I'm up. And I'm not going as far because I don't want to take all that beautiful blue out. I want that blue there. You see that? I'm on the tip again, some pressure, and I'm very nicely dry brushing. I'm going to pull, and I'm not pulling to the end because I want to have that. So now here's my blue, here's my white. I'm interlocking my colors. I'm not doing white to here and blue to here and having this line in between. I'm going into the other, so I'm interlocking my colors. And here. Usually I have 900 questions. It's okay if you don't have to ask questions, but if you need to ask questions, just ask me. And I'm here. Okay. And I just pull like that. Now, what the white is going to do is it's going to give me true color on the pink. So that's why I put the white in. It'll give me a nice, nice pink. Okay. So that, then I'm rinsing. And I'm pinching dry. And then I'm picking up oh my goodness, pink Tourmaline. Again, it's an extreme sheen color. It's beautiful pink. Extreme sheens, oh please don't ask me how many. There's a bunch of them. There's probably, I'm not even going to guess. But they have green and purple and pink and bronze, and there's a lot of really great colors. They have sapphire. There's a lot of really great colors. So I'm going to load and pinch. And now where I dry brush the white. Now because I'm dry brushing, there's no water. I'm not wet. My paint's not heavy. I can immediately go and start working. So I'm going to dry brush the pink over the white. You see that? Let's see. Make sure you shake good too. And you see how I'm getting a nice, real pink. And it glimmers and it shines and oh, it's beautiful. It's great for a butterfly. here. Now again, I just did 2 coats. Now I may say I want more. That is never a right or wrong issue. That's a do you like it issue. If you like the coloring in it, that's fine. If you're doing the technique correctly, which is the goal of being in class and learning, the coloring itself is what makes you happy. So if you want it dark pink, don't go heavy. Do it a couple of times and that will give you a darker pink. If you want it lighter, it's okay too. And if you don't want the pink and you only want the purple and the white and the blue and the white, that's fine. So that's a personal preference. That's always a personal preference. Okay. Let me just get in a little bit. I happen to love the pink. Should have pulled another color to show you what it would look like. I don't know if you can see that glimmer on that. Can you see that? I can see that. So pretty. So pretty. And I'm here. And I'm putting another coat. And again, I'm following the contour of the wing. So down here, I'm pulling down. Here, I'm pulling a little straight. And up here, I'm pulling along with the top of this wing. Here, this whole wing is going this way. So I'm pulling just like that. Always follow the area you're working in. And again, you see how I interlocked? See how pretty that is? So pretty. So pretty. And anybody painting along with me or painting after the fact and watching this, please, please post pictures of your pieces. I'm always so happy when we see all these pieces. It's just such a happy thing that I can help you create and that you're creating. Let's see. Hi, Jane. Nanette, Karen has answered you. Read it. She uses a lot of pearl. There you go. Karen, you can explain. So that's another way of doing it too. You can add pearl medium to your paint. I am an extreme Sheen person. My girlfriend in Australia, she uses a lot of pearl. She's a lot of pearl. And you can get the same effect. So you can take any color and add the pearl to it and you will get the same effect that I'm getting here. So you don't have to invest in 500 different paints. If you just get the things that you need, you can play, you can substitute. I always say people get a little concerned when they don't have this or they don't have that. There's always something you can work around. There's always something you can substitute. So don't ever worry about that. Okay? So there's my butterfly. There's my coloring on my butterfly. Now, I'm going to put this gold in after. But you see, at the edge of the wings, I want it to be darker. Now I want this whole edge to be darker. And I want just this top corner to be darker. Now, I'm going to explain why. Okay? When you float this whole edge, it pushes the whole edge down. If you float just part of it, it looks like this is further down and this is further up. So now instead of being flat, you're kind of like this. So the butterfly is kind of moving. Pink metallic, she can use a touch of pink. Yes. Yes, that's what she can do. If you don't have metallic, you can use pearl medium. Absolutely. All right, so I'm going to go back to my Paynes gray, and I'm going to go back to my floating. Remember, wet, blot, write it down. Write it down. When I teach in person, I listen to people saying wet, blot, load, blend. Wet, blot, load, blend. I promise you, you'll all hear my voice in your sleep tonight. We don't have a lot of people here tonight, but I'm glad you're all here. That is here. Okay, so we wet, blot, load, blend. Flat, totally flat. I'm going to come up in this corner, and I'm graduating. If you remember that we float to push the area down, we're pushing the edge of the wing down. Okay, so the paint wouldn't go this way because we're not pushing down the middle. We're pushing down the edge of the body. So if you know why you're doing it, and why you're doing it is to make the item recede. If you know why you're doing it, it will help you know where you're doing it. Okay? So you see the difference? Always know. So if you're separating something, in this case I'm not because it's a beginner class, but if I were separating the two wings, I would separate on the bottom wing in the shape of the top so that I'm pushing this down and this whole area is up. I hope that makes sense and I'm not giving you too much information. Okay, so I'm here. And then I'm going to do this whole edge. And he's flying off the edge, so he has the ruffles here, but he doesn't have them here. Okay. So you see how just a couple of steps brought this whole butterfly to life? He's a beautiful butterfly, isn't he? All right. So, let me do a quick, then we're going to play with other brushes. Now, the dry brushing, it doesn't take long, well, if at all, it doesn't take long to dry because you're working with a dry brush and very scant amount of paint. When I'm floating, I'm working wet, so you have to watch on the edge and see. Hi, Shirley. Nanette, are you painting along with me now? Okay. Okay, so I'm still a little wet. All right. So now I'm going to take my pattern, and again, I'm going to line it back up. So now, see, I can see exactly where I'm going. So I can have that right there. I'm going to hold it up at the top. I'm going to take my graphite, shiny side down. Shiny side down. And I'm going to put my lettering in. And remember, you do not need to use a stylus. You can use anything that will give you pressure, because it's the pressure that is transferring the graphite. I'm going to just put a kind of where I want my scrolls. Now I'm doing this. If you're comfortable, and if I were doing this, just sitting here doing this, I would not put these in. I would just kind of go where my brush takes me. But because I want it to look exactly the same for you, I'm putting them in. Okay. Now remember, this is kind of a guide. If you move your letters over a little, or it's fine. It doesn't matter. You know, that's not a big deal. All right, so I'm going to go back to my Paynes gray. Oh, Betty and Faith, you were painting too, and Annette. Oh, good. I'm so glad you're all painting with me. Wait until you see what we're doing next week. I'm going to show you what, at the end of class, I'll show you what we're doing next week. We move a little faster. And I'm going to show you what our beginner piece is for next month. Okay? And I'll give you the dates because I wrote them down somewhere. Yeah, I have them. All right, so I'm going to take a rigger. I use a rigger for everything. Okay? A rigger, and they're very inexpensive brushes. They look round. Okay, see how they have a round ferrule? I'm going to take my rigger, and I'm going to pull it in the paint. I'm pulling from the side of the paint puddle, and I'm wiggling. See how I'm wiggling? So now I'm creating a flat brush. See how now I have a flat brush. Now, the more pressure you do, look at how wide I can get with a number 2 rigger. Okay? Less pressure, thinner. The unbelievably fabulous thing about this brush is it can work flat and it can work round in the same stroke. So I'm flattening, and I'm going to come in, and I can do my stroke flat. I can raise my pressure so it works like a round. I can go back down, and you see what I can do. Now I use this brush not only to do my stroke work, my lettering, things like that. I use it for base coating too. It's a great brush for base coating. All right, so I'm going to take my Paynes gray. I'm going to flatten my rigger. And riggers are under $5. So they're not expensive brushes. And I'm going to line my oval. Now, this is what I will tell you. I watch people hold their hand anchored and they go like this. Okay? You will not get the line you want. When you work on anything, use this part of your hand as if you're using a pencil. Think about using a pencil. And do that. Okay? So you see the difference between the choppiness here and the nice flow. Okay? It's just like you're using a pencil. If you were writing your name, you would not anchor your hand and go like this. You just can't do it. What you would do is you would go like this and move this part of your hand. Okay, so you see that? I have to wipe that so it doesn't get all over my hand as I work. All right, so I'm going to take my rigger and I'm going to flatten it. And I'm going to go around my oval. So I'm here. You see how I'm moving my whole hand. Now, if you don't want to use Paynes gray, that's okay. Use whatever your heart desires. It's not such a great oval, is it? Because I'm up in the air. But it'll do. I'm anchoring my hand. You see what I'm doing? Now, if you notice when I run out of paint, I'm going back in and I'm loading, I'm wiggling. I'm not starting right here. I'm starting up in here so that we don't have a connection point. Okay, there is no place where we connected. We went into the old, so we just keep going. You see that? And that's because I'm using my whole hand. One of the things that really people have a very hard time with is they anchor their hand. And I think, because of course I can't speak for anybody, but I think that they anchor their hand because they think they're supposed to anchor their hand. You know, when you have a paintbrush, you think this, that's how you would do it, but it's not. We are constantly moving our hand. We are also constantly moving our surface. So if I'm here and I'm painting and by the time I get here my hand is not comfortable, move your surface so that your hand is comfortable. When your hand is comfortable, you can create a stroke. Okay, that's really, really important. All right, so I'm going to go back to my rigger. I'm flattening. Now, when I do my lettering, it's the same thing, but I'm flat, pressure. Now I want it thinner here, so I'm up. Pressure. And you see how I have both. I have thick and thin in the same thing. Now, on lettering, I'll give you a quick lettering 101. When the stroke does not feel natural, that's when you stop and come from another direction. A lot of people don't realize that. Oh, this should have been higher. A lot of people don't realize that. They think they're supposed to go the whole way. So here, my E is from here. And then this side is not, it's not comfortable to take my hands and to go that way. So this goes here, and then it's comfortable to go here. Lettering is created that way. Do you see that? Okay, and I'm here. And here. Now, I wrote Sweet Dreams. I try to keep it very generic so that anybody can do it and use it. Be creative. If you're giving it to your kids, your grandkids, yourself, you can put their names, you can put whatever you want. A phrase that's important to you and whomever you're giving it to. If you're putting it on your front door, you can put your last name. Be creative. It doesn't have to say Sweet Dreams. And FYI, you can paint on both sides. So if it's for a little kid, you can put baby is asleep on one side and baby is awake on the other. So now you have two. That's not really good lettering. So you can have two pieces on one. You can do that. That's fine. Okay, for everybody who just came in, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm not speaking very well tonight. The words are not coming out. All right, so we got our letters in, and we got our oval in. Those were done with Paynes gray. Okay, so now I'm going to take a little bit of lamp black. Again, that's just Americana. It's not metallic. I'm going to take my rigger, because I use my rigger all the time. I'm just going to flatten my rigger, and I'm going to base coat. So the same way you base coated your wings in white, I'm just going to come in and I'm just going to base coat. Now you see the difference in the black. Black is very opaque when it goes on, so it covers right away. Make sure you're touching the wings. You don't want to space in between the wings and the body, because the wings come from the body. I'm going to go to the tip of my brush. I'm just gonna, let me see how thin I can get. I'm gonna make my two antennas. Now, if you're not comfortable doing the antennas with a rigger, do them with a liner. When I do the stroke work and I work on the inside of the letters, I'll use a liner to show you how to use a liner. Okay. Now I'm going to pick up. Are you all keeping up with me? Because we're doing okay on time. I'm going to take some white. I use warm white. I am not a titanium white person. I do not own titanium white. I will not own titanium white because it's not a color I like. So, it's just not a color I use. I use warm white. It's much warmer. It's got some yellow in it. So it's a happy color. So we're going to dry. It's just doesn't want to dry. Alright, so now sometimes you see I still have an area that's not drying, and that's okay. You can wait for it to dry, or we're just going to do something else. So I'm going to go to my Extreme Sheen 24 karat gold. I'm going to shake really well. And I'm going to take my rigger. And if you don't have a rigger, you can use, if you have a 10-aught flat, you can use a 10-aught flat. You can use a liner and have thinner lines. You can always substitute with something. If you have the chance to get a rigger, if you order a rigger, you will not be sorry. Okay? You will not be sorry. It truly is one of my favorite brushes. Okay, so I'm going to, again, because we have some who just came in, I'm going to take my rigger, I'm going to pull from the side of my paint puddle, and I'm going to wiggle. Now you see how little paint I've used? I use so little paint on everything. So just put out little bits. I tend to over put out. Okay, so now I'm going to line my body. Now this will need, I think it's going to need 2 coats. If you look at it straight on, it doesn't look bad, but let's just line. Now here I want to line this top of this wing too. Okay. If you don't have extreme sheens and you're using dazzling metallics, you can undercoat in white. That'll give you a truer color. And I'm here. See how pretty that looks. And I'm going to come here. Now again, you see how I'm moving my hand? I'm moving the surface so that my hand is comfortable. That's important. Sorry. Sometimes I don't realize if I'm at a camera. And I'm here, I'm lining this wing. And that's going to separate the wings. Now if you're not lining the edge of your wings, you can float to separate your wings. I'm here. And I'm here. Let me see if it's dry enough. Yeah, it is. Now you see what that second coat does? Look at the difference between here and here. You see that? Aw, how sweet of you. Thank you. Okay, so I'm here. And I'm here. And I have no sound on, so I can't hear myself talking. Which is a good thing. Because I hear myself all day long. And I'm here, and I'm here. You see that? And that changes the whole coloring. Isn't that beautiful? See how nice the color is here? and it's just another coat. So you see how it's only taking me a minute to do? If you're falling behind, which you shouldn't be, but if you are, don't worry. These are things you can go back and easily do. This is just little stuff. We're not doing anything else to it, so you won't be missing any steps. This is just lining stuff. I still have a wet spot on my body, so we're going to stay in the gold. Now, on my, I'm going to switch to my liner so that I can show you the difference. Now, if you see the bristles, let's see. There you go. Now you can see them. The rigger has thicker bristles, so it's all about pressure. Your liner has less bristles, so it's easier to get very, very thin lines. The trick to the liner is to go in your water and go to your paint and create a puddle. You have a nice thin puddle. Don't make it so thin that you won't see color. Now, and I tell people this and they don't really get it, but I watch people, when they take their brush, they twist it because they think they're getting paint all over the bristles, so they're going like this. Okay, so think about your finger, and you can't see me, but think about your finger in your hair right by your ear if you're twisting it. So if you're twisting it, you're breaking your hair at the root. If you're turning like this on your surface, you're breaking your hairs at the ferrule. Okay, so what's going to happen is you're going to break your bristles. You don't want to break your bristles. What material do you need to make? The surface itself is, I got a door hanger from Dollar Tree, but you can paint on anything. The paints and stuff are listed either on my Facebook page or on the library's Facebook page. There is a list of all the paints you need. And I usually posted 2 weeks before class, except for the next one, on my Facebook page. And the library, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure they posted a week before. So the colors and brushes and everything are always posted before. Okay, so I'm going to, you can pull from your paint, twist. Don't twist on your palette, okay? Now, I want to make my letters look dimensional. And the way to make your letters look dimensional is to pull a color next to them. In this case, now you could do left or right side. In this case, I'm doing the right side of the letters. Now, something to always remember. I'm going to stroke right next to it on the right side. Okay? Beautiful, right? But remember, this is a right side. This is a right side. Okay? So your right side is not only just the main part of a letter. Your right side is every right side on every letter. You see that? I'm here. I'm here. You see that? So there is more than one right side on your letters. Okay? So I'm here. I'm here. And then right side, and just be consistent. So if you choose left or right side, it doesn't matter. Just do everything the same. So if I'm doing right sides, both words are getting right sides. And what this does is this gives us our dimension in our letters. So now they look 3D. They don't look flat. It's not on the blue. It's right next to the blue. You see that? beautiful, right? So no matter what word you put, no matter what letters you put, all the same. Put your letters in and then line outside the right side, whatever letters they are. Okay. Now, before we do our stroke work, I'm going to flop over to the body, which is easy, but I don't want, because this is going to be wet, and when it's wet, I don't want you to put your hand in it. So I make detailing this body very, very simple. We painted our body black. I'm going to go back to my Mezza Luna, maybe. There it is. Okay, my Mezza Luna, remember? I'm going to, now, remember, this is a dry brush, so we're using it dry. Okay? And I just pinch it dry just to make sure. Okay? I pick up white. I pinch. So I have very little paint on there. In this area, we're going to use little pressure, straight up and down, so I'm only using the tips of the bristles. And I'm going to just dry brush the very center of the body. You see that? That's all there is to the body. But you see how that makes the body? Okay, so now what I did is I took this black body, I highlighted. When you add a lighter value, you're highlighting. When you add a darker value, you're shading. I just made the center come up and the sides go down. So now instead of looking flat, he looks kind of rounded. You see that? Okay. So now I'm going to show you stroke work. Stroke work is the basis for all we do. And I put these in because I think they're beautiful. I love stroke work. It brings real classy element. So I'm going to take my liner and I'm going to take my gold. No water. And I'm going to pick up a lot of paint. See how much paint I have in here? Thank you, Jane. I'm going to have a lot of paint. I start at the heaviest point, so I'm at the bottom of the stroke. A lot of pressure so that I have a lot of paint, and then I'm going to pull to no pressure. So, heavy load. Oh, not like that. Okay, so if you make a mistake, like I just dropped paint, take a wet Q-tip. Q-tips that you buy at the dollar store because they have very little cotton on them. You don't want Q-tip brand because they have a lot of cotton on them, and what happens is they pull the paint all over. And just wet it and pull it off. That was a good lesson, right? Okay, so a lot of paint, pressure, and then thin it out so I have less pressure. So there's a lot of paint. I put pressure, and then see how I'm releasing pressure as I come up? So as I release pressure, I get thinner. Now you can see I still have graphite there. When this is dry, it's coming right off. It'll erase right off. Always, always think of your tracings, your pattern as a guide. You're not married to those lines. They will come off. If you use graphite, they will come off. Have no fear. Pressure. Now, I'm going to show you something, and only because this is my beginner class and I let you cheat. Let me get this in. Now, just say you're doing a stroke, and you come in, I'll have to use less paint, and you do this. And you have no nice tip here. So then just come in, and only because you're new. Come in and go like this and kind of build it and do that. So there is a way to cheat. You know how I don't like to cheat. But that's the way to do it. Okay? So you can just come in and, like I said, just build that. And we're here. And we are here. See all that? Yes, they call them cotton buds in Australia. So you'll all laugh. If you listen to our Australian friends speak, they call things all different things. It kind of cracks me up. Don't tell my friend there, but it cracks me up that they say different things, and sometimes I have to stop and think what she's talking about. Which I'm sure she has to do with any of us too, because they don't call us the same things. So we base coated, we slip slapped the base coat, we transferred the basic pattern, we floated the inner circle with our paint towards the outside. Wet, blot, load, blend. 4 steps. Okay? Then we came in and we base coated our butterfly white, and we did that so that we could have true color when we put our metallics on. Oh, what's happening? Oh, there you are. Okay. So we did that so you could have true color. Then what we did is we dry brushed. So we took our Mezza Luna, load, pinch, it's a dry brush. We pulled the purple all the way in so that we made our wings purple. We did that with our extreme sheens. Then we came in, we cleaned our brush, we pulled Paynes gray 3/4 of the way through our wing. Then we took white, we dry brushed into it so that we were interlocking. Then we took the pink Tourmaline and we dry brushed so that we had the pink. We based our body black. We took our rigger and we lined our letters. Oh, are we stopping? Okay. I don't know if you're falling behind. All right, well, I'm going to keep going because I think it's going to keep going. Let's see. My Wi-Fi is fine. All right, well, maybe it's just that I can't see. So then we took the black, we based the body with a rigger, we took the white on our Mezza Luna and we dry brushed. We took our liner, we heavy loaded, okay, thank you, Dolores. We heavy loaded our liner on the one I'm watching, I can't see it. So we heavy loaded our liner in the gold and we stroked. Pressure, and as we lifted, we got thinner and we released the pressure. If we needed to cheat, we came back and we kind of formed this edge here. Okay? Tomorrow, after you're all dry, come in and erase any of the extra graphite. Okay? Anywhere it is. And you'll see it'll come right off, and then you can varnish it. I use DuraClear satin varnish. It's just a choice of mine. You don't have to. You know, whatever varnish you want. You can use gloss varnish, you can use matte varnish, you can use satin varnish. 100% a choice. Okay? So, whatever you love. Now, before we go, I will show you this. Beautiful, isn't it? Again, I used metallics on the wings, and I'll show you how to wash wings, and I'll show you how to get all that detail in there with the Mezza Luna. This is next Thursday, August 20th. This is our intermediate class, so we'll move faster. I would guess by now it's up on the website, on the library's website. I didn't put it up yet on mine. I will do so tonight, along with the paint colors and everything else. You can do it on any surface. I didn't put it up because by the time we got electricity back, we were just too close to the to tonight, and I didn't want to get everybody confused. Our next beginner class, September 3rd. You ready? Ta-da! Let's see if you can see it. So we're going to do this flower. I did this lettering. This is a stencil. I got the stencil from Tracy Morrow. She's tracymorrow.net. Should you want a stencil, you do not have to do a stencil. You can do lettering, again with a rigger, but in class I'm going to stencil it. You can also get any stencil you want. This we're going to all paint by hand, okay? My dots in the back are stencil too. But this is a really fun piece. Thank you, Shirley. I kind of love it too, as I was painting it. On next Thursday, I will show you next month's intermediate class. Excuse me, I have to keep something, you know, for a surprise so that we have some surprises every class. But it's a great piece. It's a really great piece. And it's working with fluid acrylic, so it's a whole new thing. So it's a lot of fun. All right, so let me pop you around so I can say, look, you can see my messy studio. Hey. Because we need to have a surprise. All right, so I will say goodnight to everybody. I will say thank you so much for coming and painting with me. If you have any questions, please just pop off a message to me. Pop off a message to, oh, the spots on the wings. Good thing. Hold on. I'll flip you back around. I'm going to say goodnight so I don't have to flip the camera back around, but I'm going to do the spots on the wings because I didn't do them. So don't go anywhere. Okay, I'm going to flop you back around. Thank you, Nanette. See what happens when I don't pay much attention? Spots on the wings. I did spots in, I think I would notice that, right? Gold, and I used colonial green. So, watch this. So much fun. Sometimes I just play. So I'm going to take my rigger. I know, I'm moving all over. Sorry about that. I'm going to put that there so you can see it. Okay, so I'm going to pick up, and I'm using my rigger again. I flattened, and I picked up colonial green. Now watch. I don't transfer them on. I come in, and I scrub. Look at how I'm just going back and forth. I'm just scrubbing. So they're never the same. I'm on the side of my brush, and I'm just scrubbing. This is a really easy technique. I'm going to pick up gold, and I did gold on the bottom, and I didn't want the same shape. Well, I did have the same shape at the bottom, but here, look, side to side, and then I kind of just did that. And here, and I did that. And I came in, and this is a really easy, you're really just scrubbing in your shapes. This is a really fun way. Can you see what I'm doing? Now, you can have any shape you want. This, I will do 2 coats on, because you see this is too transparent for me. So watch, once I put the second coat on, watch the color change. Look at that color. That color is a perfect complement to the purples and the pinks. That's called green. Let me just, before I blab my big mouth. Green Lagoon. See that? It's either this year or last year's new color. And it's it's got a lot of blue in it. So you can see it goes perfect. And there we go. Thank you, Nanette, for reminding me. I would have totally not realized it. And then I'll just put another coat of gold. And then, there we go. How's that? Now we have spots. Okay. So tomorrow, I'll erase my graphite. And then I'll varnish it. I painted the sides. Now, let me just tell you before we go, because I know we're running over. I always varnish my piece, and then I paint the sides. Because, okay, so the sides of this I painted, sides in the back I painted deep midnight blue. When you're painting, if this is varnished, and you get paint on the side, you just take your finger while it's wet, and it'll come right off. If this is not varnished and you get paint on it, you run the risk of not being able to take it off. So no matter what I paint ever on anything, I always varnish the top and then I varnish the sides and the back. So then I just come in and and if you leave it and dry it, a wet Q-tip will take it off because this is already protected. Okay? I'm off camera, sorry. Okay? So, I thank you all for coming and spending your time with me. I appreciate it. Join me next Thursday. We'll move a little faster. There'll be less technique because we're going to do the dragonfly and the flower. I'll put those colors up tonight. As a matter of fact, I'll probably do it pretty soon because I already have it ready to go. So, thank you all. Have a very safe week. Stay safe. Be creative. And please, please, please post anything that you painted because I love seeing what you do and I love sharing with you all. All right? Have a good night. Night. Maybe. FYI, because I can't figure out how to turn this off, you can watch this in replays. So go to library, watch it on their website, scroll down on the videos, and you can watch it. All right. We're going to turn you off. Good night, everybody. Oh, you know why? Because I'm doing it on. I'm not recording on. Okay. Night, girls. Guys. Everybody.